Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the All About Favorite channel. I am your host, Pastor KZ. At the end of the video, please remember to comment, like, and share. Please share the video and get them thumbs up. To all of my current subscribers, thank you all so much for your support. If you have yet to subscribe, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you will be notified each time I upload a video. Y'all, still working on the digital store. I got some t-shirts you can order at walkinfavor61 at yahoo.com. And please remember to put your sizes. Now, all this week, I am going to be talking about different subjects. As I said last week, I'm going to give you some things to think about before this year comes to a close. As usual, my attire, the first 3 days of the week, I represent the teams who have won. Thursday night football have passed and the Buffalo Bills defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I am wearing a Buffalo Bills t-shirt. To my subscribers in Buffalo, New York, thank you so much for your continued support. And thank you for remembering to email me and tell me the Bucs lost. Okay, you got me on that one. But of course, you know I picked the Bills anyway, y'all, even though I was secretly hoping the Bucs will pull it out. So let's get started. Today I want to give you some encouragement, and I will make my disclaimer. I am no expert. I am no guru. All I am doing is offering some thoughts and opinions based on what you have told me in the emails, okay? So please don't come for me like that, because I am not an expert in any way. But a lot of you have been expressing mental exhaustion. As we get into moving to another year, you all been talking about you're just drained and you're burned out. But let me remind you that you are resilient. You are resilient. And what does that mean when I say that? I'm telling you that in spite of you having to face difficulties, you exhibit strong problem-solving skills. You know, you understand that it's okay to have your breakdown, but get yourself up as quickly as possible because you got things to do. You know, part of having strength and being strong, that does not mean you don't have days when you just feel like breaking down or you have a meltdown moment. But the problem becomes when you don't get up from that. You have to get up, and I want to encourage somebody today to remind you you're resilient and you have the ability to bounce back. In spite of what comes your way, you got to bounce back. And for those of you who have been in this rut most of this year, you've got to understand at some point, you got to pick yourself up, move forward with your life and bounce back, because the world keeps going on, but you can't stay stuck. You've got to find a way to get back up. And I believe you can, because I believe that you are resilient. Now, you've got to understand, being resilient just means you know how to display self-control and you have the ability to cope when setbacks occur. And believe me, y'all, setbacks do occur and you got to deal with them. You can't be throwing in the towel and giving up and melting down, going into all of this here emotional duress and stress and drama, where you just ball up in a fetal position. You got to get yourself up, because there are things you got to do. Some of you have children. Some of you have occupations. Some of you are in school. You have got to get yourself up to keep rolling on, because y'all know what? Life keeps rolling on. And in life, there are setbacks. They will occur. I'm not going to sit here and paint this picture that everything in life is rosy and beautiful and you're happy and upbeat all the time. Sometimes life happens, and that means sometimes setbacks occurs. And believe me, those of you who have yet to encounter that, to my younger subscribers, keep having birthdays and you will begin to say, you know what? Now I know what Mama was talking about. Now I know what my grandmother was talking about. Now I know what Auntie was talking about, or my uncle was talking about. Because you keep having birthdays, and as the years roll along, honey, setbacks occur, and you've got to know how to deal with them. When you're dealing with difficult decisions, when you have relationship problems, when you have a health scare or an emergency health situation, whatever your circumstance is and whatever comes your way, you have to find ways to manage and face the situation head on. Running from it and avoidance does not work, because that doesn't resolve the issue at hand. Instead of falling apart, y'all, you gotta, and falling into despair and falling into this deep well of depression. Being resilient means you recognize and you identify ways to push through. You just got to push through. I understand there are days when you just don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to be bothered. You don't want to answer your phone. That is okay to have those moments sometime. And I say moments sometime. What I'm saying to you is this should not go on week after week and turn into months. You got a problem then. You've got to recognize and identify ways to gather your strength to help you push through. In other words, you got to have a survivor mentality. Y'all feel me on that? You got to have a survivor mindset. You got to say, no matter what weapon that is formed against me, what comes against me, I am going to make it through. I am going to make it through. I'm going to persevere. I'm an overcomer. I'm a victor. I am not going to remain a victim. I'm going to come through this. I'm going to walk through this no matter how difficult it is. I'm going to come out on the other side with a praise report. I'm going to come out on the other side with a testimony. I'm coming out of this with something that's going to help somebody else. Not just me, but I'm going to be able to help somebody else, because then I will be able to say, baby, you're going to make it through. Because remember, Auntie done been there. I done walked in your shoes. There were days Auntie K felt like giving up. There have been days, y'all, Pastor KZ just fell into a depressive state. Now, mind you, when I felt that way, it was usually, and I have identified when it is, when my grandmother passed away, my grandfather, my mother, my father, those deaths, my aunties, my uncle, those deaths just hit me, and it just took me to a place. But and I wasn't weeping and grieving and crying because of their loss, their transition. Because you know what? It was a beautiful thing, and we all know that's the way we got to go. I was just missing those people's presence, as I still do today. So when Pastor KZ tells you she's walked through depression, she's walked through, and some days I do get that way where I just think, especially birthday, their anniversary of their birthdays, the anniversary of their death. Mother's Day is not an easy day for anyone who's lost their mother, and I can speak for a lot of people on that. But somehow I have to remember that I was always taught, baby, you resilient. You got to bounce back from this. Doesn't mean you forget. It doesn't mean you don't miss us when we're on the other side, but it just means your life keep going on, and you still got to manage your household. You still got bills to pay. You still have other responsibilities. You got children depending on you. You got church members depending on you. So you've got to find a way to bounce back. So that's what I'm sharing with you today. Push your way through. Y'all know how many days I went to work before I retired that I had to push my way through, to just sit there one day. I just felt like, oh my God, I'm just breaking down. But you still had to push your way through. In other words, y'all, being a survivor and having that mindset helps you get through things. And also having a strong faith base helps you. And having people in your circle. Like, remember last week and the week before, I have been talking a lot about the people in your life, the people in your circle. You've got to have some really powerful, strong-minded people in your circle who you can call up and just say, look, I'm having a moment. And those people gonna be there for you. They're gonna lift you up when you don't feel like you can lift yourself up. So you got to be able to focus on what needs to be done in that moment. See, one thing I have learned is to try to focus on too much of what's going on in the future, what's ahead. You sometimes just have to focus and deal with the issue going on at that moment. See, resilient people have a way with understanding when problems arise. They have to be rational and in control of their thoughts. You ever met people just all over the place? They don't think rationally. The stuff that they're saying is like, do you hear yourself how ridiculous you sound? That is not going to solve the problem. That is not going to change your circumstance by what you're saying. So you ever seen people who just, their actions and the way they act is just so far removed from being in control? You already know this person doesn't have a survival mindset. They're not resilient people. You can't be emotional every situation that comes up. And sometimes you have to make difficult decisions just like that. Sometimes you got to make a decision on the fly, as they call it, in the spur of a moment. Resilient people can adapt to change. You ever met people who, oh my God, if you say you're having an event at 5 o'clock and you call and say, we're going to have to push this back to 5:30, and then somebody just melting down, going crazy. You've got to be able to adapt to change. In other words, resilient people are flexible and they're calm during times of crises. You got me? Flexibility is important. You have to remain calm in the midst of a storm sometime. When things get rough, people who are resilient respond with confidence and positivity. Now, here are some things that might help you. I'm just going to throw out some things. This is my opinion only, so I just want to share this with you. Here's some things. Number one, you must learn how to be a good communicator. You got to learn how to communicate. There's some people you can sit for 15 minutes and you're sitting like this and you're like, now, what did you say? And they say it again and you're like, I still don't get what you mean. That doesn't make sense what you're saying. You've got to learn how to effectively communicate in times of crises. You know, you've got to be able, you ever ask somebody for directions, for example? Oh yeah, it's down there on the left-hand side. You'll see a green building and you'll go down about 5 blocks and then you'll make a right-hand turn. What have that told me? First of all, you didn't tell me the street I was going down. You didn't tell me the physical address of where I'm going. What does that mean? And what if the building is not green anymore? I'll never forget, it was a little funny little side story here. My grandparents and I, we always like to travel sometime and go places. And my grandmother said to my grandfather, where's the name of this restaurant we going? He said, oh, it's a nice place. Everybody go to it. And it was in a place called, I don't know if some of you familiar with the town of Cedar Key, Florida. And she said, well, man, son, what's the address to the place? And he said, oh, I know it when I see it, because you go down about 20 miles when you get down by the left-hand side of the White House, and then you go down, it'll be about 15 more minutes, and it's a big blue building. So we riding, and we riding, and we riding. And she said, okay, man, son, what is the physical address of this place? And he said, I don't know, look right there, the paper right there on in the dashboard of the car. She looks and she like, we passed this street 45 minutes ago. He said, no, baby, no, Emil, we ain't passed it because it's a big blue building. So we still driving. And she said, just go to this address. So she tells him and he pulls there. And she said, you see that building right there? And he said, yeah. She said, what color it is? Well, I reckon they done painted it, is what my grandfather said. And she said, you realize how crazy that was for us to do that. So I wanted to share that with you. You got to be able to effectively communicate The next thing that will help you is to look at the problem or the situation realistically. Some of you have unrealistic expectations. I'm going to give you an illustration here. Some people sit around and the things that you're thinking or the things that you're saying, it's just not reality. It's not reality. You're saying things. I remember a time when this young lady, you know how in school they ask you what you want to be when you grow up and all of this stuff. So this one girl says, I'm going to be a brain surgeon. So everybody in the class started laughing. And she's like, what? I can't be a brain surgeon? And the teacher kind of like didn't say anything. So I was just sitting there and I kept mute. I didn't say anything either because I happened to know this particular girl. So as the years went by from junior high to high school and we were getting ready to graduate, so I say, hey, you still gonna be a brain surgeon? And she like, girl, I gave up on that dream the next day I said it. Now this particular girl that said this, everybody was laughing because it was just unrealistic for her. Because one of my friends, God rest her soul, she's like, sis, if that girl can get through the cat in the hat, that's pushing it. And she's sitting up there telling them people she's going to be a brain surgeon. So we had our little joke and our laugh about it. And even to this day, when I see her, even at our age, we still laugh about that. So you got to have realistic expectations. The next thing is you've got to visualize the outcome working out in your favor. Some people just never see the positive side. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, but sometimes they realize it was for my good. The next thing is you've got to save your energy, y'all. You can't put your energy and focus your energy on things that really does not matter at that particular moment. Another thing is you cannot always be a person who becomes overwhelmed in things. You've got to have a calmness about you. And just remember, how you deal with problems will play a role in the outcome, how you deal with it. A lot of time, some things are not as difficult and serious as you make them out to be. Some of you, I'm going to just say it as the young folks say, some of you just like drama and chaos. You just do. Now, I want to be clear about something. Resilience does not mean you won't have problems or situations that are challenging or difficult. But the next time you encounter a setback, start trying to manage your emotions. Let go of the negative energy and be determined to find a positive solution. An assignment for you. And I want you to just make a list of what makes you anxious, what kind of makes you feel overwhelmed. And then I want you on the other side of the paper to write down ways you can be resilient, ways you can deal with it a little bit differently than you had been in the past. Remember, we're about to leave this year in 65 days, 70 days or more. And we're going to move into a new year. And I just don't want you to go into the new year just doing some of the things and having some of the attitudes you had this year. It's going to be something new. Walk into newness. Learn how to be resilient or learn to become more in control of your emotions. And when you find yourself really falling into a slump or a rut and you're getting depressed and overwhelmed, please don't forget to journal. And it is okay to seek counseling. Please, it's nothing wrong. Your mental health is very important. You've got to take care of that. A lot of people will put more emphasis on their physical body, but mentally and emotionally, they're a mess inside. You're falling apart. So please, get yourself focused so you can learn the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. Because I'm a firm believer in wellness and wholeness and self-care. You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to do a better job at managing your emotions, managing your stress level. So please get focused. You've got to find balance. And remember, always walk in favor. I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. And don't forget, be thinking about how you going to become more resilient. I see you back tomorrow.